How do we have a single strand of hair left on our heads? This team, Jake, could you imagine going into the postseason with this team? The way that we play, and mind you, we're 105 games into the year. You'd think that at some point or another, this unit would really hone in the fundamentals. And what you realize is this is like watching your son's Little League team, right? They'll win some games, and you just have no idea how they're going to go about doing that. But welcome into Yankees Unloaded. The Yankees win 5-4 in extras. The Yankees are actually pretty good in extra innings, but they have to be at home. And we were. So we won this game. Anthony Volpe, another clutch home run. And I feel like if he does anything offensively, it's clutch and it's a homer. He's hit 6 home runs his last 11 games. So he's strictly a power bat. I feel like he listened to A-Rod talk and is like, oh, you want me to level out my swing and become a contact bat? Well, just go sit down somewhere. He's been really good. Jake, thank you for throwing comments up on the screen. And Devin Williams is very clearly, in my opinion, to me, feels like Sonny Gray 2.0 of the bullpen. He is arguably, he is just not good. His ERA is now ballooned to 5 again, Jake. Just as we were actually talking about how he's maybe one of the guys you can somewhat trust, he's very clearly at this point, I think Michael K brought up, maybe they can sell on this player considering he's a rental. You can get a lot for him is what he said. That's a quote. I'm not so sure about that. And maybe another team says, well, if we take him out of New York, he'll improve. Maybe, right? Austin Wells, we mentioned again, doesn't know the outs. And there are a lot of people who are, I don't know about you, Jake. People are blowing me up about what to do with Austin Wells, whether or not Ben Rice should play every day, if he should just take his spot outright. And I'll tell people, I don't think this is an Austin Wells thing. I think this is an accountability issue with the Yankees, and we'll discuss that at length later in the show, of course. And Trent Grisham, at the time, clutch home run. Very clutch. Stanton, clutch. Cody Bellinger cannot go unnoticed. Cody Bellinger is probably our most valuable player this year. You're talking about a team of misfits. We don't know who's playing where. Cody Bellinger's a fit at first base, center field, right, left. It doesn't matter. Cody's arguably our best at bat. He just finds a way. You don't know how he's going to do it. He's hit 20-plus homers so far this year. He's the type of guy who can spray the ball the other way. Jake, your dad mentioned we don't score clutch runs. We don't grind out at bats when we really have to. Cody Bellinger's not cut from that cloth. He's an outlier. Clearly an extension should be had. And of course, Ryan McMahon, of course, the dessert there, walks it off because why not? Brian Cashman was probably very excited about that. So Jake, we're 24 hours, probably actually a little less, from walking into the second half of the year post-deadline with no bullpen whatsoever. Duran is in Philly. Helsley is a Met. Can Brian Cashman get it done?
He can. I mean, when there's a will, there's a way. Now, here's the thing, okay? It's a lot easier than saying he can. He has to actually go and do it. Now, the good news is if you want Mason Miller, well, the Mets just loaded up their bullpen. They have a lot of assets today. The Phillies, unfortunately, took Duran. I think it does eliminate those teams because the Phillies were not, and this is actually kind of the growing consensus. None of these teams are willing to really delve into their farm system and give away top prospects. And so I do think this is an opportunity when it comes to, a guy like Mason Miller and the Yankees. Now, I'm not saying they're going to get him. I'm not at all saying that. Really felt like Duran was the guy that we're going to get. And it sounded like they really just didn't really make the effort. But when it comes to Mason Miller and the A's, they're sitting there. They know they have a really good group of young core players. But as I've stressed to you, Gary, I understand he has, 4 or 5 years of control. I get that.
4 years of control after this season, so that's a lot.
But at the same time, what good is a closer right now like that when you're not in those games? You're not playing for anything. That's why a bad team, hell, even a fringe team like the Cardinals, they're not a bad team. We were just being told not that long ago that Brendan Donovan is not going to be traded to the Yankees because we're too good and we're not trading him to you. And now all of a sudden, the Cardinals have fallen off a little bit. But again, fringe team, and they just traded their closer away. And they're looking to deal another relief pitcher in the form of, there's two. There's Matone, and then, of course, there's JoJo, who we like. So yeah, it's interesting because, we don't really know how tomorrow's going to go down. And Brian Cashman did use the words, we're going to go to town. Okay. Well,
which town is that? Which town's he going to?
He must have gone to Silent Hill because I don't know what town he went to, but
this reminds me of the time when he put his hoodie. Do you remember that?
Yes.
When we just looked like fools, and then Brian Cashman put his hoodie over his head, and he's like, "I'm about to go to work," and people say, "Oh, he's like kicking the tires," or we're gonna go crazy. Anytime he tells you that, just know he's not about to go crazy. And he already at this point, unless Mason Miller's he can't go crazy. He can't unless Kwan's coming from Cleveland. You can't go crazy at this point. We can get multiple bullpen arms. There's a reason that these guys fell off the board first, is because Duran, and I told you, Jake, Duran separated himself. He's not in his division. He's just not.
Absolutely not. I didn't even like
totally
Helsley,
different
to
pay
be
grade.
honest with you.
Right. So. And you've also pulled up the high leverage numbers. And obviously we're not talking about strictly ninth inning. We're discussing, tying run on base and scoring position, all types of stuff. Duran was in a class of his own. And so now that those players are off the board, I just don't understand how Brian Cashman can sit up here and say pitching, and then turn around and a lot of fans are saying, hold on a second, what are we doing? Because we have less than 24 hours to complete this team, a team that you told us when the season started can win the World Series. Now, all of a sudden, people want us to say we're so far out of it, Cashman can't fix it. If that's the case, well, we probably need a new GM, but we'll digress on that. He's got 24 hours to GM for his life.
Yeah, I really think, and I texted you this, and this is just how I feel, Gary. If Brian Cashman wants the Yankees fans to ever trust him ever again, he needs to come through this deadline. And look, I'll be honest, when it comes to Mason Miller, I have concerns. I have genuine reservations about that arm and him holding up. So I wouldn't want to trade away a Spencer Jones. I wouldn't want to trade away a Cam Schlittler. But I will say you got to do something. So if you don't get Mason Miller, I don't think it's the end of the world. I honestly am not even looking at him like he's available. I'm looking at it like, the A's are going to play around with this. Why not? Even if you're not trading somebody, Gary, say you're a general manager, why not have some fun? Leak this stuff. You're involved in the trade deadline. And then maybe, just maybe, you get a desperate team that offers way more than you would ever expect. And you're like, oh, I guess we are trading Mason Miller.
Well, what if the New York Yankees, for example, right? You're saying you wouldn't trade Spencer Jones for Mason Miller. Now, mind you, given how I know the Yankees operate in free agency, I also wouldn't make that trade. However, if I told you the Yankees are going to be the most serious players on, say, a Kyle Tucker, you thought the Yankees were legitimately, right? I asked you, do you think we're going to go get Kyle Tucker? And you said no, definitively, right? I agreed with you, albeit we literally couldn't be higher on Kyle Tucker, the player. We couldn't. And he couldn't be a better fit for the Yankees. And people think, well, we already have young outfielders. It doesn't fit. He's Kyle Tucker. But would you suggest if Kyle Tucker was to be had, the Yankees were going to make sure that happens, would you be more open-minded to, say, us overpaying to make sure we bring in a closer to this team? Because clearly we don't have that option now. Outside of Mason Miller, the Yankees are not going to bring in somebody that is now a shutdown arm in the ninth inning. We're currently going into ninth innings holding our breath for the rest of the season. I think unless Miller shows up, and as you said, you're looking at a Spencer Jones, you're looking at a George Lombard Jr., you're not getting a closer like that for cheap with 4 years of control. So that's the issue. We can't replenish our talent in free agency because we don't trust them to do so. It's so difficult because, I feel like the right thing to do here is to hang on to these guys, and then you go into the offseason and be super aggressive, but we just don't have the faith that this team's going to move that way, the faith that Hal Steinbrenner is going to move that way.
Yeah, well, I think, right now, Duran's a better pitcher than Mason Miller. Mason Miller, it's all about the potential, the higher variance, I would say. But right now, without a doubt, Yohan Duran is the better pitcher, okay? He won't be the bigger name. If Mason Miller gets dealt, that's going to be crazy news because people don't look at Duran. He's a ground ball guy. He throws hard, can miss bats, but not like Miller. So I want to bring him up because Duran, Gary, has 2 more years of arbitration, and then he's a free agent. Okay,
That's right.
so there's 2 more controllable years with him, including not including this year, and you're adding 2 more. So how much? I guess this is the question for you and chat. How much do you value those 2 extra years of control with Mason Miller? Because we were talking about it earlier, and we were not happy. Duran went for the 4th overall prospect and the 6th. And now, obviously, Spencer Jones here is listed as the 4th. He is not the 4th on the Yankees' radar. He'd probably be up here, number 2, behind George Lombard Jr. I would have.
And you also
guess.
have to compare the 2 prospects on their side in comparison to ours. It's not just in a vacuum 4-6 versus 4-6. It's not going to work that way. And obviously, most people understand that. So the Yankees right now have sort of teed themselves in a situation where they sold us that this bullpen is complete. This is going to be a very highly serviceable bullpen, a complete team. That's what they said. We lost Juan Soto. We completed our team. We spread the wealth. And then all of a sudden you get to the deadline and you find out there are more holes than you could ever imagine, right? It feels like I'm honestly going to leave him alone. I'll leave Volpe alone tonight. I know he made an error. I'll leave him alone. Clutch homer. But you're talking about a bullpen that we can't trust on any given night with any lead. And Brian Cashman, I'm going to be honest with you, Jake, if he wasn't going to go big game hunting, he should have had these players traded for. You mean to tell me you're going to be looking at a JoJo Romero? Well, you probably should have had him on the 28th, shouldn't you have? I mean, you're not talking about a mega trade, clearly, because those are gone now. So if you weren't going to be putting up Spencer Jones and George Lombard Jr., that's totally fine, whatever. But complete these trades, because we just walked in. We probably should have lost tonight, and we stole this game. And these games really matter. And right now, I know Yes sort of brought up our pacing. We're on pace for 88 to 90 wins. We can't fool around.
No, I agree with that. And as you can see here, I brought up the Duran trade. They like, after the fact, putting the values together. All the trades on baseballtradevalues.com. Great site, by the way. Highly recommend it. Not sponsored.
Can we zoom a little bit? I'm not sure if our audience can read this exactly maybe the way we are. So zooming, I think, can do us some good. Appreciate it.
Well, of course. There we go. Kind of cut that off. There we go. All right. So what you're seeing here is a 17-year-old catcher they're really high on in Eduardo
I'll throw David
Tate.
back up. And
you got Mick Abel here. Okay. 23-year-old starting pitcher, like you said, 4th and 6th in their farm system for Duran. Duran's 2 years of control. Mason Miller is 4 years of control. They actually have Mason Miller in the 30s. So I'll bring that up as well. But they have Mason Miller in the 30s. I had to apparently scroll out.
And I do
just
wonder.
to show that.
You mentioned the health of Mason Miller. Mason Miller's dealt with arm injuries before. At first, he was a starter. Now, mind you, this isn't a huge red flag to move from starting rotation to the bullpen. A ton of players do this. Mariano Rivera did this. So we can't freak out about that premise. But he moved as well because they didn't believe he could handle the innings. And so, mind you, when he shows up to the Yankees, it's not like we're flexing him out to the rotation. You have to imagine that a power arm is going to stay healthy in the bullpen. You just have to, I guess, you just have to take that chance with what you would be doing.
Yeah, and honestly, it feels kind of weird because of the way we talk about Mason Miller, but I think something like this could actually get it done, and this is what I've come up with here. Seems like a lot, obviously, and I'm not saying that I would necessarily do it, because like I said, I don't know if I want to trade away Cam Schlittler, because I think he's got, potential number 2 stuff in the rotation. But do you see what I'm seeing here? I mean, this is the cost for essentially a 4 years instead of 2 years on Duran. So
yeah, and you also, to be fair, when you mention Cam Schlittler, because I think that's the key here. I don't think anybody in our comments is going to lose any sleep about Bryce Cunningham. They're not going to lose sleep over LaGrange. But when you talk about Cam Schlittler, we've seen him on the mound. We've seen what it looks like. Obviously, he's not getting the perfect results. He's not a finished product, but you know what the future is going to look like, I guess, somewhat here. We've seen it. Now, for Cam Schlittler, the only way you acquire a player as good as Mason Miller, right, with the potential in pinstripes, is if you do surrender something that the A's can say, yeah, that player, there's going to be a future with that guy. They're just simply not going to look at Bryce Cunningham and LaGrange and see the potential that arguably you see with Cam Schlittler. So that matters when it comes to a trade. You're going to lose value. I would even argue the Yankees will lose the value game if this trade's executed. They just will. Same deal with Duran. People said, oh, they overpaid. Well, I'll tell you what. You are going to have the perception of an overpay to acquire a star. That's just the way this game works. And then you find out after the fact, okay, Cunningham doesn't pan out. Cam Schlittler turns into an ace. LaGrange turns into a 5. Well, I'll tell you what. You probably look at that and you say, did we win a World Series? And you'll take that. That's just sort of the way it is. But if you're going to trade for Mason Miller and you don't genuinely believe this piece puts us over the top, you probably don't make this trade.
Yeah, it's interesting. I still think they have LaGrange way too low on that site. I mean, this is what we're talking about right now. The number 2 pitcher, they have him higher than Cam. He's 2 years younger. He obviously he's a little bit bigger, but they're both, really good size, of course. But he is striking out guys like crazy in Double-A. And we've talked about it. That's where the best talent is going to be normally, So it's interesting for sure. And then Elmer Rodriguez Cruz, who's also flying up the rankings here. He's pitching very well. I think the Yankees have a lot to offer.
I think the Elmer Rodriguez Cruz thing, I think you're exactly right. I think he's one of those high output guys the Yankees don't really see a future with. Mm-hmm. He should be traded. I just believe that. You have to take your pick. And I think that when you look at the top of the Yankees farm system, there's a lot of pitching. And you just kind of sort of have to look up there and say, okay, who are we picking for the future? You can't pick 4 of them. It's got to be 1 or 2. And Jake, really, I don't know if you knew this.
Here, he's so
right.
blocked. You know what I mean? So it's like guys like that are just so blocked. When you have, and again, I keep saying this, you have 3 long-term deals, okay? And that doesn't even account for Luis Gil. Because when you look at Luis Gil,
because he's got the control.
He's got the 3 years after this year of control. So you got 3 years of control from a rookie of the year who's coming back and pitching on Sunday, barring a trade, right? And then you have Will Warren, who pitched really well today. And if you really look in a vacuum, he's had a really good year. He's had some bad starts
over 2024. Huge.
Yeah, and Michael Kay did a great job of bringing it up. Will Warren was not supposed to start this year. He was supposed to be in AAA. He was never supposed to be called up. The whole point is that when Garrett Cole goes down, now his opportunity becomes an opportunity. And so I like that he brought that up. But again, the point being is that the Yankees like Warren, they like Schlittler, they like Gil. You got 3 guys in long-term deals. A lot of these players, they're just currency. I hate to be that way, but that's just the way it is.
Look at you, Jake. Look at you. You would have never said this a year and a half ago. Never.
Well,
I've somewhat evangelized you to the halfway point.
They did also get Max Fried. I mean, I do have to give Brian Cashman credit for that. I know, he only did like a few things, but Max Fried was a huge get. Almost out of the Yankees' comfort zone, if you will.
It creates a surplus. When you do hit on, this is another thing that nobody talks about with the free agency market. It's not just buying talent. You're also creating surplus out of thin air. You can spend money. And this is what I've told you guys. When you walk into the winter and you say hang on to Spencer Jones, which I have every reason to want to do that. Now, if you do that and ink a deal with Kyle Tucker, now all of a sudden you say, okay, Aaron Judge, Kyle Tucker, Spencer Jones, Jason Dominguez, you can't all play. And now you have the ability to use trade chips. Whereas you'd say, well, that player's good enough to play for a big league team. He's good enough to help us. Well, guess what? He can help somebody else. And you can fill other needs. So that's the reason why, guys, you always bring in the talent, which I love the way the Yankees went about their business in the 2024 draft. They went and drafted best talent available, and I thought that really worked out. And Jake, and by the way, guys, before we get to the Super Chats, because we're going to get to them right now, we're way behind. Make sure you guys subscribe to Yankees Unloaded. Thank you guys for being here. We had almost 700 people in here just about a second ago. Make sure you subscribe to get involved. We are giving away a Yankees jersey of your choice at 10,000 subscribers. I think we're a little over 8,500. We're going to be there very quickly, probably sometime in the next 30 days. So greatly appreciate all of you who have already liked all of our videos and helped us with the algorithm. You guys are the absolute best. I mean, people told us we couldn't get 500 people in a chat at the beginning of this year. And I guess they were right. We get 700. So I want to make sure I get David L back up on the screen as promised. David, thank you.
David.
Thank you for the 5. Thank you for investing in us. Says sloppy teams are indicative of sloppy managers. I think we completely agree. Pathetic base running says it all. Fire Baboon, the old school Baboon. Road to nowhere. I think Jake, I think in general we do agree. I mean,
with some of that,
Aaron Boone was looking at Austin Wells like he wanted to just punch him. And to some degree, he has to look inward. Is it Austin Wells' job? Certainly. But you've played 105 games as this team's manager in 2025. You have not held players accountable. You haven't pulled players off the field. You haven't chewed anyone out. What did you think about his reaction?
Yeah, I agree with you to an extent. Once again, I thought Boone managed a good game. Once again, the base running's there, the tagging up. Basically, Jazz Chisholm forced a balk. So he was great today. The run game being there 2 games in a row, it kind of shows me there's a sense of urgency now. Okay, like, hey, we're going to be in these close games without Judge. We're going to need to do every little thing. More bunting today, okay? Obviously, bunting is now a sore subject because of Austin Wells. But because, of course, it's 2 outs, of course, when you have the guy that, just crushed a home run his last at bat. Yeah, he's totally coming up to bunt for a hit with 2 outs. No. Point being, though, right? There's bunting. There's moving the runner over.
There's clearly effort in doing the other things other than just strictly the power game.
And that's my thing. I mean, my biggest issue this year, I think, has really been the defensive positioning, because I think it's led to more hits that, it's, oh, yeah, Volpe, it's out of the reach, or it's out of the reach of Chisholm. I just think the positioning sucks more often than not this year. I don't know who's in charge of that. Could be Boone. Could be somebody else.
John Boy actually brought this up years ago. Before we even started this podcast, he actually mentioned, he was talking about the shift. Now, this is before the shift was banned. Obviously, it's just much less aggressive. And the Yankees were just throwing players left and right all over the field. And we were actually discussing the struggles of Clay Holmes and why that may be happening. And obviously, he was alluding to the shifts don't seem to be working. Expected batting average was supposed to be low. And yet, when we look on the field, the results weren't there. So I think that does tell the story. Maybe, I don't really know who's at fault there. But the shifting, it wasn't working. But I would agree with you. The overhanging thing, the Yankees are choosing to play a better brand of baseball. They're arguably the dumbest team you've ever watched. However, at least they're not going up there all just trying to hit a game-tying home run every single time up there. They're trying to run the bases. They're trying to go to the next base. It's noticeable.
Learning from the mistakes as well. I mean, you go back and you look at Jason Dominguez. He saves a bases clearing double there, and that ended up being, it's not going to be talked about as the game winner
underrated
because
play.
You have to score runs.
Yes.
But that very well could have clinched them winning the game because it was at home. You get last licks, that type of thing. But Jason Dominguez had some moments today where, he came away empty-handed on 109 off the bat. Then he has that defensive play. There are a lot of different things that I liked. Brent Hedrick needs to get some credit. He, when healthy, has looked really good for the New York Yankees.
The broadcast was raving about his fastball today.
Dude, 6 missed bats is the second all day for pitchers. Number 1 was Zach Littell, which I actually want to give Will Warren a lot of credit because Will Warren went away from, I'm just going to strike out 10 guys in 5 innings and not be able to go past that.
Wasn't Littell just traded?
Yeah, that's what I was telling you off air.
Oh,
Littell literally just got traded to the Reds. They were like, that'll play.
Yeah, that just registered to me because you didn't tell me. Obviously, we don't go over which stats we're each going to bring up. But, I mean, good pickup there.
But, I want to give Will Warren credit. He was able to go 6 innings. They needed that. If you go 6 innings right now with the way they've been pitching, that's huge, Gary. That's huge. And Will Warren had to take something off. You could see it. He's not, he wasn't the power pitcher today. He wasn't striking out 10 guys or whatever. But it kind of goes back to the whole Rodon thing. I want Rodon to go length. I don't need him to sit there and get a bunch of punch outs, but then he can only go 5 1/3. If I get 7 innings of Rodon and he only throws 4 strikeouts, I'll take that every single time.
You know what, though, Jake? Sometimes, though, I agree with you 100%. I agree with the premise. Absolutely. The issue is you have to remember the personnel also dictates how a player is going to play for your team. If you're gonna have a team and you're like, hey, our bullpen is just wildly thin. We've got nothing back there. We're not sure who's pitching. We have no crews. We're not sure who's pitching the 7th. We're not really comfortable with who's pitching the 9th. And then the overhanging, just the conclusion here is we need length. And then you bring in, say, a Blake Snell. Well, Blake Snell's not trying to go length. Blake Snell's trying to go 5 1/3, strike out 10. That's his entire calling card. That's the reason you signed him, was to miss bats. Carlos Rodon was brought to this team to miss bats. So I agree with you completely. It would be nice if he had some variance to his game. He can pitch some length, pitch to contact, but I'm not going to try and get him to do something he hasn't done his whole career. But at the very least, we can look at Will Warren today. The fact that he wasn't missing bats and he was still successful, that's what it's going to look like, guys. If we play Toronto in the postseason, if we come out of a wild card, if we find a way to win this division, you're still going to end up facing Toronto. They're going to put the ball in play. Who are you then? And I think Will Warren showed some guts today with this performance. It was huge.
Yeah, and I hate that for Devin Williams today. It sucks. You know, you could just tell. And honestly, I don't know if he should have pitched, but they don't have a choice. And this is where I'm going to blame Cashman. Even if you get somebody tomorrow, which, again, you can right your wrong tomorrow, and they won 2 straight with no bullpen, right?
Yeah.
But you right now, like, it is fair to be like, what the hell? Because I don't think Devin Williams should have gone today. He just threw 25 pitches last night. And you've actually mentioned it before. It's not just 25. It's all the warm-up pitches via the bullpen. Then
it's also high
stress. High stress.
It's high stress, man.
So I'm not trying to make excuses. He's a professional, and he will never make the excuse. He'll say, I need to be better, so I'm not going to make excuses for Devin Williams. But, 19 pitches tonight, 25 yesterday. Does that happen if there's a Mason Miller? Does that happen if there's a JoJo Romero? Does that happen if there's David Bednar? No. And that's the thing. They don't really have guys. I like De Los Santos. I like Yeri De Los Santos.
I appreciate the context, because there were going to be people who did reply to that. Yeah.
Yep. So I like.
So you're essentially saying why there should be urgency. People say, well, we can get everything we need by the deadline. That's true, but there's baseball games being played before that. So that's your urgency. That should be holding you accountable. And we're really sorry, Apex. Welcome into Yankees Unloaded, obviously a mod of ours. Thank you for the 2. Welcome into being burnt into our screen. It says, Will Warren saved his job. Not sure about that. I'm not positive on it just yet. Ryan, Big Mac, good trade. So far, I mean, he's been good. He's just been good. We're at the point in the season where beggars can't be choosers. He's here. We should root for him at this point. He's not going anywhere. So at this point, you just have to hope that it works out in our favor, and that's what we're going to do. And D's channel with the 2, we got to catch up here. Bum of the game, obviously not very high on what Austin Wells was doing on the base pass. I mean, who could blame him? And so Kyle with the 2, also a mod of ours, says, please get Miller. Williams isn't it. So it does seem like Kyle really, Jake, is focused on bringing in a closer, not necessarily just an arm. Now, when we brought in Morosi, right, we bring in other writers, they were saying multiple, not just closer. They said the Yankees are going to bring in multiple arms. So, Kyle, I would somewhat agree with you. You would like to bring in a Mason Miller, but are you going to be willing to pay what it costs? That in itself will be interesting, because if Duran costs that, Mason Miller with 2 extra years of control with a team that is budgeting according to them, how valuable is Mason Miller to the Yankees? That's what the A's are going to be thinking about on this trade. So not what you want to hear, but it is business. It is reality.
Yeah, it is reality. Also, you know what else is reality?
What's that?
At Opta Stats just dropped this banger. I don't know if you saw it. The Yankees are the only MLB team in the modern era to erase the deficit in the 8th, 9th, 10th, and then win in the 11th. It's never happened before.
This actually, if you could let me handpick a Yankees team of the last 8 seasons, this 2025 team is probably the team I would have picked as the least likely to accomplish that.
They are psychotic. That's what they are. They're absolute psychos. They'll play like dog shit for the whole game. And then 8th inning comes in and they're like, oh, oh, we're only down 1 run, guys. And then they hit a home run to tie it up. And then okay, we tied it up. We're good. And then, dude, there were some awful at-bats. There were some great at-bats. I want to give a lot of credit to Grisham today. I want to give a lot of credit to Ben Rice. I understand he's going to be talked about for, not picking that. No one's going to talk about the ones that he did pick cleanly because that's
he had a great
big
pick
deal.
at the beginning of the game, and I was actually going to text you, Jake, and I forgot. I was like, oh, Goldschmidt doesn't pick that. Obviously, you saw the day before Anthony Volpe received an error on the throw. He should have. I mean, you don't throw the ball in the dirt.
Absolutely.
But it was an easy pick, all things considered.
Well, and then
the following day, I know.
His stop at first, he actually looked like the Yankees' first baseman in the future. And then on top of that, his at-bats, man. He had an 11-pitch at-bat to draw a walk. I thought he looked really good today. And this is just somebody who needs to play more. I see it mentioned all the time by Drew Thorpe in our comments section. I mean, if you play this guy every day, he's not going to hit 229. He's just not. The problem is he doesn't play every day. He doesn't know when he's going to play. And we talk about it all the time. A-Rod, he felt so much more comfortable when everyone knew where they were going to be in the order. Well, how about being Ben Rice, who doesn't even know if he's going to be in the order? So it's a tough.
We also didn't talk
call
about the premise of being young.
That too.
Alex Rodriguez, it matters to him. He was a veteran at that point.
Exactly.
By 2009, when you ask a superstar, Alex Rodriguez, I mean, how good is he at baseball? Top 2 third baseman ever?
Absolutely.
Arguably best. You could have said if he stayed at shortstop, he's maybe the best shortstop who ever lived. Well, he cares about playing every day and having a consistent role, and somehow it's not going to negatively impact Ben Rice. Of course it does. Absolutely it does. And by the way, when it comes to being locked in, if you guys don't think it matters when it comes to base running, execution, knowing where you're supposed to go with the baseball, it matters to play every single day. It just does. And Jake, you could take John's super chat. Because I know you just love old school baseball players for the Yankees. You love it.
I do. Real quick though, want to give a shout out to Bellinger because I mean, I don't think I've ever been this quick. Maybe Juan Soto last year for obvious reasons. I thought he was going to stay around a long time, but I was so quick where Bellinger really grew on me. I always want him like you. But he's one of my all-time favorite Yankees already. And he hasn't even played a full season. And then I also want to give, once again, another shout-out to Ryan McMahon and Anthony Volpe. Volpe is having a Jameis Winston season where he's going to throw 33 touchdowns and 30 interceptions. Volpe's going to hit 30 home runs and have 30 errors. And you just
have to hope he times something good when we need it. And that's just... We're going to get Anthony Volpe, the shortstop, as well as the dude who only hits home runs in clutch time. And when we get into October baseball, you just have to sit there and pray that it happens at the right time. We're not going to sit up here and tell you this is some mainstay or Volpe is making his name in the Bronx. He was booed today. He was booed at Yankee Stadium today. So that goes to show you sort of what this is looking like. And again, we're rooting for him on this podcast. And he's just arguably the most inconsistent baseball player you've seen.
Yes. And John, appreciate the 5. Ed Whitson, Steve Trout, Kenny Rogers, Jeff Weaver, Javi Vasquez. I read Javi Vasquez, didn't see the twice, and I knew the twice was coming.
Yep.
Kevin Brown, Sonny Gray, now Devin Williams. Some guys simply cannot handle the Bronx. So appreciate the super chat. I'm going to disagree. I actually think Devin Williams has been just absolute nails and just honestly got overused. And I'm not even blaming Boone for it. I'm blaming Cashman because we've talked about it over and over and over again. This is not a well-structured bullpen at all. Brent Hedrick was not even in anyone's thoughts because he was injured and people forgot about him. And now all of a sudden he's their best bullpen arm right now. Like, come on. So
that is not good.
So that's my thing. And again, I don't want to make excuses for Devin Williams, but I just want to have that clear context. He just threw 25 pitches yesterday, and he, again, you had mentioned, the leverage, the pressure, then having to be thrown out there. You're not 100% clearly. I just didn't like it. And again, I'm not blaming Boone either. Yankees.
I'm also not blaming John because John makes a lot of sense here. You look at the results.
No, I'm not blaming John.
The results are not good, and you're agreeing really with his point.
Yeah.
But last thing I'll say about it real quick here, you just mentioned we've got nothing in our bullpen. Half our chat is, we've had over 600 chats. People are saying, where are we getting this player? Are we going to get this guy? Are we going to get that guy? Reason they want to do that, they want to fill out the room so we actually have some bodies down there. Well, guess who has to deal with the fact that there are no bodies? Devin Williams. He has to deal with the fact, oh yeah, I just pitched yesterday 25 pitches. He shouldn't be pitching today. We should have enough, and that's Brian Cashman's job, to have another option. Cruz should be there, right? Obviously dealing with the injury. You should have more talent in there. Jake, you've mentioned a million. Hoffman, a ton of options, the Yankees. Robertson, who was signed for just simply money a couple weeks ago. So when you look at all of these ways Brian Cashman could have improved this team, it's not just us as the consumer of this team that has to deal with it, right? It's not just Michael Kay who has to cover it. It's also the players on the field. They have to accommodate for it. So I think Devin Williams isn't pitching well in the Bronx. That's just my personal opinion. But it should be much better because we shouldn't be using him as often as we are.
No, I think that's definitely fair. And then Yankee fangirl for life. I'm afraid we've done what we've done, and we're good, I'm going to assume, is the check mark. I'm going to push back on this. I think we'll be pleasantly surprised tomorrow. I think they make multiple moves. They might not be like super marquee, but I think they'll be pretty good. Like
if we get Cabrera in Cabrera, Jojo Romero, maybe I would say we still need multiple arms. Right. So Colomb, you're talking about maybe an arm in the rotation that you can flex a Warren to the bullpen and really help that group. I think we can look at it and maybe not be happy. I'm not going to force you guys to be happy about this deadline when maybe you shouldn't. But we maybe have a shot in hell going into October if you can say, all right, we added 2 or 3 arms to the team you see today. And then you're talking about one of those arms being really an arm that could be a 2 or a 3 in this game in Cabrera.
Yeah, I mean, the Twins still have plenty of guys over there as well. Coulomb and, of course, Jackson Nix. Just kidding. Griffin Jacks.
You will never let that go. Not until after the deadline. You won't.
No, that needs to be a shirt. Only Yankees Unloaded fans will understand. They'll be like, Jackson, and make it like a jersey and everything. People like,
yeah, it wouldn't be very good product placement for us. Probably wouldn't help us grow at all with a bunch of inside jokes because that's sort of what we have here.
That's true.
Ninja Hot Dog with the 5, also a member here at Yankees Unloaded. So Ninja, welcome back. Thank you for being here. And he says, McMahon has lots of potential. On the other hand, Williams can't handle New York, so there you have it again. Volpe E6, and I know it's crazy that we're making more errors, but that's neither here nor there. Big home run today. We'll let it go. Made the same throwing error twice, and still no accountability. I'm going to say this, though, about the Yankees. I'm going to say this about Anthony Volpe. I'm going to say it in his defense.
They don't win without him today.
Of course, they cannot win the game without him, as you mentioned, Jake. They also, due to the trades they've made, they don't have really a better player at the shortstop position. They just don't. And you can blame, again, Brian Cashman for that. You can also blame maybe an Aaron Boone for committing to this and maybe not going to Cashman and saying, hey, maybe we can help him down in the minor leagues with his development. We're talking months ago. Years ago, this probably should have happened. So, yeah, as far as no accountability, there's nothing they can do today to fix Anthony Volpe in the field. You just have to live with it and understand that he's unfortunately our best option. But today, it was very fortunate.
Yeah, it was very fortunate. Speaking of accountability, I wanted to give a shout out, and of course, a shout out here to Ninja Hot Dog. Love the dog, as always. But want to give a shout out to Austin Wells, by the way, because Austin Wells took full accountability. Loved his answer. He said, I just thought there were 3 outs. Very embarrassed and disappointed for sure. You let the guys down when you do that. You give away an out like that in a big spot. I think I was just being an idiot. Basically saying I made a stupid mistake. It won't happen again. And I'm aware of how, brutal that was. Now, obviously, it's a lot easier to say that. They won the game. But, I like the way they said it, though, on the broadcast. You got to pick. Baseball is about picking up your teammates. Devin Williams gives up the home run, gives up the 2-run shot. Volpe picks him up, that whole thing. You have this error in base running error, so he won't even get the error, I don't think. But Austin Wells with a base running error, and then they're able to find a way to win.
There should be errors. If you don't know the outs, they should just throw errors on your record. By the way, I was going to ask you a question about accountability because obviously Ninja Hot Dog wants accountability. They feel that there isn't accountability in New York with Aaron Boone because Aaron Boone is supposed to be leading this group. How much responsibility do you put on Austin Wells in this situation? Now, I'm not telling you not to put any or a lot. What I'm telling you is that what if Austin Wells can show up post-game? He said exactly the right thing. He said we cannot complain about what he said. He's clearly taking accountability. However, what if a player internally takes accountability, but he knows deep down that his manager is not going to hold him accountable by maybe relinquishing time on the field, right? A role. Hey, do you think, because we know Aaron Boone's not going to take Austin Wells off the field due to that play, right? He won't even consider it. So do you think that weighs in long-term for the Yankees more than maybe people are covering?
Well, I'll defend Boone again here. He couldn't take him off the field. They pinch ran for Rice, and they actually sent down Escara.
No, so I don't mean now. I don't mean that. I mean tomorrow. He already knows who he's playing. And so if Austin Wells was in that game plan, obviously you don't know before the game what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And so going into tomorrow, Boone is going to look at that and say, well, he's my option to play. He's not going to consider what happened today. Do you think that has any role in why maybe an Austin Wells, maybe not even him, maybe a Dominguez, who also earlier this year forgot the outs, and then people said, what's Dominguez doing? Twice. And then people looked at Aaron Boone and said, in the same season. So then you start looking at Boone and saying, what's he going to do to help these players? Because pulling him off the field, not in the moment, but maybe another day, could also help their development. So that's what I was curious about.
Yeah, I mean, I think when it comes to Boone, yeah, he's set in his ways, and I don't necessarily agree with the way he manages from that perspective, but you know, we can't really speak on what's happening behind the scenes.
You're right.
You know, we don't know how much he's getting, chewed out right now. We don't know. We just know what's out in public, and what we know in public is that, his statement. And I thought Austin Wells' statement was fine. I just, as you know, I've always had a hard time, and this goes with any sport, always had a hard time just saying, yeah, it's on the coaches automatically, because I don't like the idea of taking blame away from grown men that should know that.
That's
should
very
know,
valid. Yeah.
You could just look up at the damn scoreboard. You're at Yankee Stadium. Just look at the scoreboard. I know exactly where the outs are, and I'm there once every year. I'm not there. I don't play 82 games there.
Well, Jake, if you had a job at AutoZone and they tell you, hey, Jake, be here at 8 in the morning, but make sure you're here by 7:50 to punch in, and you show up at 10:50, well, I'll tell you what, they're going to look at you and say, you're an idiot.
Yeah.
You're stupid. Show up to work on time. Part of it is your job. I mean, these guys make millions of dollars. Obviously, we understand Austin Wells is not under contract. He's not making millions of dollars, but he's making much more money than the average person would make. And part of this job, albeit it feels like you're playing children's games, it's a very serious job. It can be gone and disappear the following year, and you just have to fend for yourself at that point. This is very serious. So you're absolutely right. Austin Wells needs to know. And I think we both agree here. You got to know the outs. And Aaron Boone can't come up there and spoon feed you. Hey, by the way, make sure you know if there's an out at first base, that's 2 outs. He doesn't have to tell you this information. Some information, you should just be able to understand. That player should be smart enough to just know what the hell is going on. So very disappointing, of course, but glad we won this game, of course. We didn't have a sour taste in our mouth over that play. Joey Cargo, thank you for the 5, says, guys, side note, but the Discord is awesome. A wild game, a very stressful game. Fun conversations, great win today. Let's win a series tomorrow. So, Joey, we could not agree more. There are a lot of people who are not very high on this team. I understand it. We have a lot of holes, but in the end, we're rooting for this team to win. We don't care what it looks like. We just care what it looks like probably come October. They'll probably kill us if it just continues to look this way. I don't know how I can survive much longer with a daily podcast. Man. And David L, again, thank you for investing in the Yankees Unloaded. Says Cashman would fail at placing the Uber Eats order. Yeah, you can absolutely. And by the way, guys, side note on Uber Eats, you should never Uber Eats unless you're a multimillionaire. don't pay anybody to deliver food to your house. It doesn't make sense. And I know, Jake, you do this.
No, not anymore.
Not anymore.
I cut fast Jake's food on my diet.
Perfect. So Jake went down the rabbit hole of TikTok. They convinced him no more fast food. So completely understand. But yeah, Brian Cashman is to blame. The way the roster looks, it's his fault. It's not Aaron Boone's. It's not Hal Steinbrenner's, as much as we do place some blame on him. Brian Cashman's job in the end is to put the correct players on the field, and we're short in a very important aspect of the game, and that's bullpen.
Yeah, speaking of which, although I don't know if he's a bullpen guy, I think he's a starter. Steven Matz was just traded to the Boston Red Sox from the St. Louis Cardinals, and Ramon Urias is heading to the Astros.
Is that their Quintana pickup, would you say?
I'd have to see. I mean, what is Steven Matz right now? I thought he was a starting pitcher, but I think has he been in long relief?
I'm not even going to pretend on our podcast to know what he's doing. I don't know.
Okay, he's got a save. 55 innings pitched. Okay, so they have turned him into a relief pitcher. So that is what has happened.
So that makes a lot of sense because he does have some tread on those tires. It makes sense.
He does, yeah. So 47 strikeouts and 55 innings. Yeah, he wouldn't have been my pick. So that's
he's your
fine.
Quintana. He's your little Quintana pick. And Brian,
out of the bullpen,
obviously,
sure.
in the Hall of Fame for our Yankees Unloaded Super Chatters. We are going to eventually make that. So, Brian, thank you for the 5. Thank you for being a member here at Yankees Unloaded. It's greatly appreciated. And by the way, guys, for anyone who wants to be a member, you can hit the join button below. You can do so. We greatly appreciate all of our members. Brian says it's going to come down to if Cashman, I agree completely with this, if Cashman wants to overpay. This, by the way, Jake, it's exactly what Michael Kay was saying about Devin Williams. Michael Kay introduced the idea of a buy and sell. You can sell on some of your rentals, and you can also bring in multiple arms, and you can solve some of your problems. Now, obviously, people would say, well, why would we get rid of a player who's in the bullpen when we need more bullpen arms? And that's probably valid, but you have to understand what they're going to do on the back end there. But he was saying that because he perceives this market of relievers, people are overspending. Why are they overspending on relievers? Because the league is horrible right now. The Dodgers don't know if they're going to have a shot in hell to win the World Series. They probably will, right? The Padres are sitting there looking up and saying, we were horrible for 3 weeks to a month, and we look up and we're 3.5, 4 games out of this division. We're right in it. There's no dominant team. There's no dominant team in the NL East. Take a look at what they did today. They both were buyers, right? The Mets and the Phillies. So you look at all of what's going on. Teams are overpaying. They're going to overpay on Bednar. Romero's going to be an overpay. And Brian says he'd be happy with Romero, have this gut feeling about Dylan Cease as a starter that we can nab, obviously, at the last second here. So, Jake, Brian Cashman, when does he ever overpay? I would argue that he did somewhat overpay in that trade to San Diego for Juan Soto. You traded Michael King. We gave up a lot to go get that player. Do you think there's a chance that Brian Cashman just agrees to an overpay, or do you think he's going to wait for proper value on this market?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I mean, one could say that maybe they overpaid for Montas back in the day. And I think at the time, Sonny Gray might have been a little bit of an overpay. But yeah, I think he's okay with a little bit of an overpay because they've done a nice job where they've acquired 3 bats for this lineup, and they really haven't given up anybody inside of the top 10.
You also felt they overpaid for Joey Gallo, if I remember correctly, at the time.
Yes, I did. Well, I didn't like the idea that they had to give up Duran, Glenn Otto, and, of course, Josh Smith. So I didn't. Right. But at the same time, Joey Gallo was kind of worth it based on his stats. That was not my type of player. I didn't want another home run or strikeout guy on the Yankees, So, there's that. I have a kind of a funny quote from Ryan McMahon.
Okay.
This is hilarious, okay? He was asked for his appraisal of the Yankees after a few days with the team. They're scary, man. This lineup's incredible. The pitching staff's incredible. The bullpen's disgusting. Well, he's right. The bullpen is absolutely disgusting, but not
he did
the way
not
he
say
thinks
that.
So. Yes, he did.
He was doing so well there. I felt like, and mind you,
he's happy.
Guys,
he's out of
happy.
Colorado.
You don't play for the Rockies. You play for the Yankees. You're going to show up and lie. And I think us as the consumer, and we listen to these interviews, we know we're being lied to.
Oh, yeah.
You know you're being lied to. Oh, I just love it being here. I've never played for an organization so great. And then they become a free agent. They go sign with whoever the hell else, right?
Oh,
so,
I immediately thought of you today with Austin Slater. Did you see what he said?
No, I didn't see it at all. What did he say?
What I call the low-hanging fruit. Anytime anybody gets traded to the Yankees, you just dream about this as a kid. Like, every time.
I think that's probably why Brian Cashman lowballs free agents. And mind you, they didn't lowball Soto. They gave him a proper deal. But most other players, right, Machado, Harper, they're thinking that all of these players are just going to take pennies on the dollar and just sign as Yankees, because when we sign them, they just try to feed our fans BS. And they're like, I've dreamed of being a Yankee. And then you go look at his Instagram and he grew up like a Phillies fan, or he grew up a Red Sox fan. Just total lies, which, by the way, everyone does in some way. They do dream of putting on one of the big time uniforms. Either it's
That's
the
true.
Dodgers, Yankees, right? Maybe, right? You're talking about the big time teams. Okay.
Yeah.
But we let them lie. But when you say that the bullpen's disgusting, we can't buy into it. I'm sorry.
Well, maybe he thinks like he was just actually being honest and just like, yeah, they're disgusting.
What if he came out and was like, the bullpen is just garbage?
Dude, that'd be so funny, but so bad for team morale.
So bad.
But also, who cares for team morale? Because most of you guys are going to be gone anyway.
It's the deadline, right? I'll be honest. The bullpen stinks. Yeah, he technically could say whatever he wants.
The Cardinals acquired Blaze Jordan from the Red Sox for Steven Matz. I know nothing about him. I just thought his name was kind of
Blaze
cool.
Jordan? No, Blaze Jordan was supposed to be a top prospect for them. They think
sounds
all
like a
their
top
prospects
prospect.
are going to be just the best players you ever seen. And I remember actually watching him hit a home run derby at, I believe, I don't remember where he was doing it, but it was a high school home run derby. And that was really when he got his name on the map. And he, of course, was drafted in the first round. Really good player, but
Blaze
didn't pan
Jordan
out.
sounds straight out of one of those baseball movies, like The Bad Guy. It's like, oh, here comes Blaze Jordan, you know, like
It to me, it just sounds like a
is
dodgeball
funny.
name. But yeah, interesting trade. And Mo, welcome in. Thank you for the 20. Thank you for the super. Always great
Thank
to see
you,
some
Mo.
orange chats in here. They don't happen often, but Mo, thank you for that. Can't see what your photo is, but I was trying to look. It says, just started watching you guys a couple weeks ago, and I appreciate how hard you guys work to give us Yankees fans valuable information. Thank you, Mo. Thank you for
Mo.
investing into our channel. I mean, it really helps us out a ton. You have no idea. We have way more in store this next 30 days in terms of guests than you guys will ever imagine. We're very excited to announce those, but we're not going to announce them and blow it and jinx it. I don't believe in jinxes, but when it comes to our guests on this show, I will. I will believe in them.
That's fair.
So Mo, thank you.
Yes, thank you, Mo. And then James here, thank you for the 10 here. Yanks forgot outs earlier in Boston. Boone said can't happen, but it continues to happen. Boone is a weak leader and commands no accountability. I've done that a million times, so I get it. No accountability, pathetic, and I'm going to get an ulcer. Well, hopefully you don't get an ulcer, okay? Good.
I'm going to start using that. So, James, hopefully you give me some permission here to use that. I'm going to get an ulcer. And if I see on X, you can go claim it, and I'll give you the credit for it. So I'm here giving you the credit now on our podcast, in front of
James
almost
is
800
great.
people. So, James, thank you for investing in the Yankees Unloaded. It's just not go unnoticed. Hopefully you're still here with us. I know it's taken us some time to get to these. We eventually will get to all of them.
Yes.
I know my mom was messaging me last night, actually, in a call. She was talking to me about it. She's like, someone was worried that you guys weren't going to get to a super chat. And I was like, if there's any podcast that makes sure we get to our supers, people who invest their money into this channel, we're going to get to them. So we're definitely trying. And of course, we try to keep the flow of what we want to talk about at the same time. So thank you, James.
Mariners
Greatly
just
appreciate
got
it.
Suarez.
Did they really?
He's back home.
Wow.
You know what's hilarious?
What did they give up?
I'm going to check right now. But what's hilarious is that the Mariners got rid of Suarez because they felt like his defense was going down the tubes. That's why they moved on from him. One of the I remember the quote. One of the baseball ops guys actually came out and said that. Also, the Pirates are keeping Mitch Keller. Not that I care. Actually, I do care because they didn't want Mitch Keller. So I'm very happy about that.
You really don't want Mitch Keller at all.
Absolutely not.
Who was the other player you really didn't want? I can't remember who it was. It completely eluded me.
You can't remember? I made a whole list of them. Did you see that earlier?
No, but there was somebody who was it? It was Housley. Housley was one of them.
He didn't even make the list. That's the funniest thing. All right, here was my do not want list for the Yankees. Sandy Alcantara, Mitch Keller, Merrill Kelly, Dustin May, Charlie Morton. I will.
I can't even take that serious. Dustin May is far and away my number one. If Dustin May is brought to this team,
Charlie Morton's worse.
Podcast, we're gonna fold our tent. Podcast is over. Padres unloaded. We're done. We are done. There's no way you can justify that. So
Jeffrey
if
Springs,
that happens, come on.
I saw that link. No. Rysel Iglesias, no. Kyle Finnegan, no. Taylor Walls, absolutely not. Because when he goes against the Yankees, he looks like a great player. When he plays against everybody else,
it's like watching somebody play against the Lakers. They're hitting half-court shots. They're hitting fadeaways. All the Instagram models are sitting front row, and they're just playing out of their mind. And then all of a sudden, you go say they stink. Yeah.
No. And then, the last one. Luis
Caballero.
Robert.
There were other people who were pretty high on him, I would say.
Yeah, but we looked at the Savant. There wasn't really a ton to like. And then
True.
Luis Robert, I am so glad they went after the other White Sox outfielder. Robert doesn't help you at all. Like, I don't understand. And I don't know if you saw the the thing today, the headline. White Sox will not take a discount on Luis Robert. The dude has lower than a 600 OPS.
A discount?
Like what? Oh, and
the dude's a Little Caesars pizza. You're not getting more than $8 for that damn thing. I hate to break it to you guys. By the way, I don't know if it's Robert or Robert. Not sure.
I heard it was Robert when he came because he was a.
Yes.
I wanted the Yankees to sign him when he was a international free agent, but yeah, I believe it is Robert. Everyone calls him Robert now.
He's a player where you can bring him in. He has a skill set. We're not denying his skill set, but if you're a team trying to get over the hump, you're not going to bring in a project, something you've got to fix. It's just not going to work. The only team who probably can get away with that is a great Yankees team with Matt Blake as their pitching coach, and you can bring in a project. You can bring in a Cruz, right? You can bring in a Leiter Jr. who's got an ERA of 6, and he shows up to you, and you can fix him. You can't bring in a player like Robert and then have the Padres, for example, who are desperately need a left fielder, and be like, oh, give us the top of your system. Yeah, please. You guys are joking. And Bill, thank you for the 5. Says, just saying, great job this week and tonight. I know, and by the way, Jake, thank you for going live. I'm not able to go live during the day. I am watching my daughter. And so Jake obviously did a great job without me. So thank you, Jake. And says, you're both thriving and growing this. Thank you as a Yankees fan. I mean, yeah, this podcast is our baby.
Yes.
So we really appreciate you guys being here.
And we learn from our mistakes, and that includes going on a hiatus all of the winter. Because people literally, and I don't know, I'll refresh you guys. I had Gary on my talk show, okay? Interviewed Gary. You guys can check that out, by the way. I'll have to post a link for that. But I interviewed Gary, and the comments were like, is Yankees Unloaded done? And we're like, what? Like, and apparently there were people waiting for content in, I don't know why I said October, January, February, right? And
winter meeting stuff, spring training, anything.
We just kind of went rampage in December, and then, after Soto and everything, there just wasn't a lot to report. We went live sporadically, like Goldschmidt got picked up, all of that. But for the most part, we didn't really think that there were people that wanted us to go live during that time. And turns out we were absolutely wrong. So, like I say, we'll learn from our mistake and we'll adjust accordingly.
Yeah, and we'll definitely be trying to go to winter meetings. I at least know I'll be there because I know Jake has a very busy schedule, but he's going to also try to be there. And we're going to be doing winter meeting stuff. We're going to be talking all the way through January, right into February. And then, of course, with spring training, hopefully we can meet a lot of our audience because I know there were some folks that wanted to meet us at the game. We want to do that as well. And John Taylor wants to see my dad be the manager. I can see that already. Thank you, John, for the 5. Thank you for investing in us. Says
He
Gary
just
Sheffield
wants to
Sr.
trade Lombard.
Gary Sheffield Sr. for manager and trade Lombard yesterday. He looks worse than Volpe did back then. I'm going to say this about Lombard Jr. Technically, he hasn't done anything offensively at the AA level to warrant being an untouchable prospect. Having said all of that, he's not highly touted for nothing. Now, I'm going to say this about Lombard. Don't just give us a timeline of when he should be here and then just bring him up at that time. No, there needs to be evidence that he's Volpe's replacement. Has to be evidence. And I'm going to say this about Volpe. There was no evidence whatsoever to suggest that he was ready for big league pitching. None. He performed well in spring training, and then we got excited, and so did they, and then he never got sent down again. Anthony Volpe was not destroying the minor leagues. I'm just here to remind you guys. So there was a reason for the Yankees to actually say, okay, we wanted to bring him up. We gave him an opportunity, several months. We can send him back down, right? Exactly what Holiday did in Baltimore, and it worked out. The Yankees probably should have done that. So I'm not telling you guys to trade Lombard. I don't agree with that. But I will say, if we're looking a year and a half from now and Lombard's 21, 22 years old, and he's still struggling offensively in AA, maybe even AAA, then I will agree with you on that.
Yeah, I mean, I want to give Lombard some credit here. This is somebody that has almost 1,000 OPS his last 10 games, hitting 308, and he's one of the best defensive shortstops out there in the minor leagues. So I think he's starting to turn it around. I think he's actually, you know what, he's starting to add some power. Lately,
which was non-existent at first.
So I think that's also part of the thing, and I said this with Spencer Jones, if you remember. Figure out how to get bat-to-ball skills down, and then worry about the power. The power will come when you do that. And obviously, Lombard Jr. was focused on bat-to-ball and, probably, having more contact and everything when it came to single A. When he gets added to AA, and I think you already see this, though. They're always asking these guys to make tweaks, adjustments. I think there are guys from the major league level, coaches, what have you, that go to those games. And of course, not like Aaron Boone, but, representatives from the major leagues, and they're saying, hey, you should probably work on this. And we want to see you do this. And, they report back. And I think we've seen it. I mean, you see it all the time. These guys are always working on their swing mechanics and everything. And,
where's the toughest pitching, by the way? In what level?
AA.
So keep in mind, guys, AA is not the big leagues. And John Morosi actually joined our show and mentioned the disparity in the skill gap between minor league baseball and the professional in the big leagues has never been wider. But there's also a gap skill-wise in terms of talent on the mound from the jump from AA to AAA. And you guys, if you want to see that in full display, take a look at Spencer Jones. Spencer Jones was in AA. We viewed it as a promotion. He gets to AAA, and it's even easier. He's just destroying AAA, and that's why. So, yeah, George Lombard Jr., he needs time. He's in the oven. He's just raw. He's not ready to play. And at some point or another within the next year and a half, he needs to be.
No, exactly. And apparently that it wasn't the Steven Matz deal. It was the Zach Littell deal just became a 3-way trade, and the Dodgers – they got Ben Rortvet, who doesn't exist. So, how about that? I don't know. I don't know what else happened, but
they have their own path. They're going to do things their way. I'm not telling you Ben Rortvet would have been a great pickup. They just won the World Series, so I'm not going to question what they do. And I think we would be on a similar playing field if Brian Cashman had just won the World Series in 2024, and then he was going up to the deadline and we were short in the bullpen. I think we probably would lay off a little bit here, but we haven't won a World Series in going on 16 years. So that's part of the reason for all this urgency. And Mark with the 5, Mark, thank you for investing in us, says, what is your hypothetical win for the deadline? This is a good question. Miller, obviously available somewhat here. Bednar, who is wildly available, and Sandy Alcantara, who Jake does not want, obviously largely due to injury history and his contract as well. There's a ton of volatility in that pickup. Dylan Cease is a rental, and Brian Cashman has said Jack Curry's covered. He doesn't really want to get a rental unless we're getting equal value and not giving up a ton there. Don't see it as likely. Liberatore, I'm against hoarding prospects. So, Mark, that's where we'll agree. I cannot stand the promise of prospects unless you have a plan in place, an aggressive plan. And it seems like the Yankees just sort of are selling you on tomorrow rather than today and tomorrow. That's a problem. And obviously Mark is frustrated with it. Jake, on the other hand, was all the way that direction towards prospect, which there's nothing wrong with it. You guys can have that opinion. But Jake is somewhat coming to a middle ground, which is definitely where you probably want to be.
Yeah, I'm at the point where, and it's weird because I really like Lombard Jr., but I'm not like obsessed with him. He's not my number one. It's Spencer Jones, and there's a pretty wide margin. I think I don't care. Jones is 24. I mean, think about this. Would you have cared? Aaron Judge is 24. Would you have traded him? No. If you think he's that good, I do. I think Spencer Jones decided to figure it out instead of just being what he was. But I also think he was raw anyway because he was a former pitcher. He has Tommy John. He's learning how to play the outfield every day at Vanderbilt and really learning how to be what he ended up being. And I think will he maintain the 5-tool player ability at the next level? I don't know.
Probably not. Probably not.
But what I'm seeing when he's serving it into left field, right? He's hitting it opposite field. He's mashing home runs to dead central. He's stealing bases. He's making sliding grabs in center field. This is a player, and it's exactly why I'd rather have Cody Bellinger than Juan Soto right now. I think Cody Bellinger wins more games for your team than Juan Soto does. And, you know, Spencer Jones, every time people talk about Spencer Jones, they talk about the power. They talk about the home runs. What I like about Spencer Jones is I think his contact, his bat-to-ball skills are getting better and better and better. And he's gotten more confident. I think he's going to be a really, really good player. I think he could even be a star someday. So I'm not willing to trade him unless I'm getting, like I said, unless I'm getting Ronald Acuna Jr., obviously not right now. But, you know, if I were getting that level of player, okay. Now, you know, of course, Paul Skeens, guys like that.
Please, I would probably fly out. I would fly out myself and zip up all of the bags and be like, see you later, Delta First Class. Later. All of the Spencer Jones, George Lombard Jr., Ben Rice, maybe even a Jason Dominguez. Now, mind you, I wouldn't throw every single... Jake, I've told you.
Yeah.
If Paul Skeens become available, goodbye. Goodbye to everybody. I'm telling you right now, if he ever becomes available, Brian Cashman just has to get it done. I don't think we're going to get it done just because of how many people want him. But you see the premise here. And Mark, to answer the question directly, I'm not going to talk about the players I would send outbound because I think that just turns into too long of a conversation, of course. But as far as what's a win, you're probably talking about inbound here. Who can come through the door where we can say, okay, this is a hypothetical win at the deadline? A lot of our options are off the table. Jake wanted Duran. That's gone. Mason, you maybe can go, if Mason Miller doesn't cost you Spencer Jones, I make that trade. I think everybody in our system should be on the table if you can bring Mason Miller in without Spencer Jones being gone. If you can do that, it's a win. But you bring in someone like Miller. I'm going to be more realistic here. I'm looking at JoJo Romero, right? Helsley was one of the options I felt like personally if you got him for cheap. And we found out the market is very expensive. So, Jake, who's another arm? Obviously, you mentioned Minnesota as having not just Duran. There were some other options there like Jax. What do you think could be another option? You text this to me this morning.
I like this guy. That. He's got a lot of control. I think, what is it, 3 years, 4 years? He's got a lot of control. I did text
Mr.
this
Louis
to
Vuitton
you.
Here?
Yeah, Louis Vuitton is what we'll call him. No, it's weird. Varland is not even really being talked about, but, you know, they have a lot of guys. I mean, that bullpen makes you wonder, man, if the Twins just decided to be buyers and actually went after it on the offensive side. They got a bullpen. Maybe they added a starting pitcher, but, you know, they already traded with their closer.
I also sell, by the way, on Paul Goldschmidt. I feel like this isn't really like a quit job. This is more of I want a promotion for Ben Rice. I think Ben Rice at this point, there's just not enough for Paul Goldschmidt to justify him taking playing time. And the defense, as the analytics suggest, is not as good as we thought it was. So if Ben Rice is just going to be okay at first base, well, I would take Ben Rice at first base full time. So I'm going to do that. I probably get back whatever I can on Goldschmidt if you can, right? If you get nothing, you hang on to him and use him as somewhat of a platoon against lefties. But I'm looking at a sell job, maybe, right? You're talking about maybe on Devin Williams. If you get a lot in an expensive market, that's probably a win. Get a player with control. Maybe you can replenish some prospects that you sell on other players. But this, Jake, is a good option. This is a very good option for the Yankees. But this can't be it, as you know.
It's better
they're going to
than
have
you
to go.
think. He's got 6 years of control.
6 years. Wow.
So this is the guy that you're talking about who he goes to Matt Blake, and he's gonna get him. This sinker is gonna start being thrown a little bit more, and he's gonna get the best out of it. He's already really good with the four seamer, yeah. And then I think he'll probably incorporate maybe a slider in there. I think this is a good fit. I also like Griffin Jacks a lot, and the cool thing about Savant is it's just kind of seamless. You just, oh yeah, here's Griffin Jacks, right? This is what we're looking at. And this is a player that I also really like. He did not have a great outing his last outing. He has a higher ERA, whereas Varland is actually having a better year. But
still
Jax
somewhat of a fixed drop on the fastball. I mean, when you're talking about a fastball that is in the blue, it's a little bit of a project. You're not just going to throw him on the mound and it's dominant. But the analytics show you just what Ben Rice shows you, is that there's clearly something there. And if a team, we've heard there's been a lot of interest in Ben Rice, you sort of know maybe he doesn't put it together this year. His batting average is 225. But as he looks into 2026, maybe 2027, 28, what type of player is he going to be then? Probably great for whoever.
Yeah, and this is another one, Danny Coulombe, who's always had really good numbers, and for whatever reason, I don't know. He's just not really talked about. I mean, he's 35. It is what it is, but Coulombe is another one. It's like, again, you look at this Twins bullpen, you're like, holy hell. You see the Yankees bullpen, you're like, ugh. And you see the Twins, and they got 4 guys that you would trade assets to go and get. So
you just wonder how the hell they're losing as many games as they're losing. They're also looking to trade a Carlos Correa, and obviously Houston's involved with that. That wouldn't be good for us. By the way, Joski49, thank you for the 5, says, is there really anything wrong with a Fried, Rodon, Heel, Warren, Schlittler? Just go for good bullpen pickups. No, there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with it, but you also have to remember there is some volatility to this, and I'm gonna display it right here, and then Jake, of course, I'll pass it to you here. So Max Fried is a solution. There's no problem there, right? There's just not. Carlos Rodon, same thing. He's not been pitching as well as his first 13 starts of the year, but Carlos Rodon overall, he's inked. He's on an extension. You can't do anything to fix it regardless of what you think about that player, and he's been overall good for us this year. Not a problem. Luis Heel, the Yankees chose not to pitch him last year. That's for a reason. They didn't trust him to be out on the mound. They felt they had better options, and he's also been dealing with injuries. There's physical volatility to that. Will Warren, on the other hand, Will Warren's shown that he has some high spots, but he's also shown you the valleys. And the valleys are to the damn ocean's floor. There's some times where he can't get out the second inning, the third inning, and that's what you're dealing with. So the Yankees sort of know, can we toss Will Warren? You named him 4th there. Can you toss him the ball in the postseason? Perhaps you can, and maybe it'll work out, maybe at Yankee Stadium, but there's no sure thing there. It's definitely a risk. And then Cam Schlittler, the last name that you listed, that's a rookie. And so can rookies be successful in October? Yeah, but he's clearly on screen, as you've seen, has electric stuff, not a finished product, and that's not something maybe you want to walk into October with. So, yeah, there's clearly, in my opinion, there's room for a veteran that the Yankees can trust to plug and play into this rotation.
Yeah, no, of course. And I also want to add, by the way, Suarez, that trade, I don't know what the Diamondbacks were thinking. It sounds like they got Tyler Locklear, who was their 9th prospect, and 2 pitching prospects to be named later.
They got their 9th prospect?
That's like the highest one that's being
Where does that
right
prospect rank overall? I'm assuming he's not top 100.
He's obviously not top 100.
Obviously, he's not.
So I don't know what it would be overall if he's not top 100. They had 7 in the top 100, and they didn't even have to give any of their 7 to get Suarez. That's wild. And they wanted Spencer Jones and Cam Schlittler. This is
but I don't believe that. By
the
way, I don't believe that, Jake. I think I'm calling BS on that right now.
Well, it must be because there's no way they dropped
total BS.
Because when you just wait, so like that's the thing. When you just wait and trade Suarez right up to the deadline, the actual time, if you really this is the best offer you were getting,
you can also make the argument that they can trade him early. Because think about it, if the Yankees were involved and they were telling you, well, we're not giving you Spencer Jones, well, no crap. Obviously, and I was telling people that in our comments. People were like, I wouldn't trade Spencer Jones for a year of Suarez. Well, obviously, he's a good hitter. He's hitting 250. He's going to hit 50 homers. He's a terrible defender. Nobody was trading Spencer Jones. It wasn't even a conversation. And so now all of a sudden, to sort of prove all of that correct, look at the package that they really got. The Mariners' 9th ranked prospect and
that's what I'm seeing.
Players to be determined. So I don't buy the rumors that every player the Yankees have to acquire is going to cost them. It's going to cost them Spencer Jones and Lombard Jr. If you're talking about a Duran, then okay. But to be suggesting that some of these rental players that are good at one thing at baseball and horrible at another, and somehow it's going to cost our top prospects, I think it's just a lie. I don't think those reports have any merit.
No, and I don't think. I mean, you also have to keep in mind. There are just not many top 100 prospects that get dealt. Unless there's a Juan Soto that is in play. I mean, you don't normally see teams dealing top prospects like that.
Not usually. Unless you have a complete team, I think you can have an argument to get more. If if the New York Yankees said, we've got a complete bullpen, we've got the most wipeout rotation the game's seen, right? And then we said our offense is great, electric, but we've got a gaping hole in left field, and all of a sudden they said Kyle Tucker's available and it's a rental. Now you can justify maybe overspending to get you over the hump. It makes sense. The Chicago Cubs did this with Aroldis Chapman. We'll take Aroldis Chapman. Why? Because we have a complete team. We've got our rotation. We've got our relief pitching. We need a closer, someone to shut it down, to toss. Joe Madden needs somebody to rely on. And long behold, people are looking at the Yankees saying they won the trade. The Cubs won the World Series. So in that case, when you're talking about trading a rental to a complete team, maybe you get more value. But in another scenario, I don't think you do.
No, I definitely think you're right. And by the way, Mason Miller, I'm bringing him up right now because there was a tweet here. Mason Miller hasn't pitched since Saturday. A's currently hold a 2-run lead in the bottom of the 8th, and he's sitting in the pen with a hoodie on.
So they are clearly protecting this asset. Clearly.
And
what happened with Suarez 2 days ago? He got hit by a pitch.
Yeah.
And you could have lost your entire asset right there. So maybe this is the right move. The team stinks. So why wouldn't you leave the Ferrari in the garage until you're going to sell it?
Yeah, he's literally the Ferrari underneath.
Oh, the Bugatti? The Bugatti in front of the RV? He really is.
He is. You see these numbers, and like the only thing that has you just kind of freaking out a little bit is the arm. How long is he going to hold up? But he's so good, and he's got some things that you just simply can't teach, which includes that 103 mile an hour fastball that he's able to throw. But then he's able to hit you with that slider, and I don't think people give him enough credit. It's not just straight 103. The fastball has movement on it. Like,
does he improve it all? By the way, I'm just kind of setting this up. I know the answer to it. Does he improve it all with Matt Blake?
Mason Miller should be praying to God that the Yankees go and get him tomorrow. His career would hit another level with Matt Blake.
I'd be really curious to see what Mason Miller looks like, and he's already a very good pitcher, very polished. But there's ways for his game to get better. Mind you, earlier this season, Jake, you brought up the analytics of his fastball run value. It's still not where it should be, given the stuff on screen. However, it's definitely replenished itself somewhat to the means. But I will say, under Matt Blake, what are you looking at with this player? I mean, you're talking about in 2024, if you can bring him, it's not like we have to have a reclamation project to get him back to those numbers. For the most part, those numbers all look the same. It's just the fastball run value. So it'll be interesting to see. Maybe they introduce more of a sinker, a variation off of his fastball. You never know.
Ben Rice numbers.
Oh my God.
No, it's funny, dude. Look. I mean, obviously he's probably settled down a little bit, but yeah,
our old school fans probably hate this. They're probably just like, well, it's nice and all that Ben Rice hits the ball hard and all the analytics. This isn't the end all be all. It's just really an indication that in 2026, if Ben Rice is your first baseman, there's reason to believe it won't look like 236 anymore. It won't look like 225. It'll look something like 270 with pop. And that's obviously what we're hoping for.
And if they care about analytics, obviously, the analytical nerds are having a freaking tizzy over Mason Miller. The idea of being able to go out and get him. So the question is, are they going to do it? We don't know. But I will tell you, Cashman sure would get a lot of apologies from fans that they went out and got Mason Miller.
I will absolutely, I'll get off his back. Because right now I'm on his back. I am. I'm going to look at him and say, what are you doing? At what point do you look at this team and say, hey, this team is actually not that bad. We're just blowing games all at the end. If you can't finish a game and win a close game, well, how good is your team overall? So he's got to do something. I'm not sure if it's this, but Ness, TBG, thank you for the 5, says keep swinging up, Volpe. So obviously leaning into the recent success, and I can't blame you there. Says, what game is not a bullpen game? Williams doesn't have the balls to close a tight game. Cheeks get tight, leading by 1 or 2 runs. Obviously, his ERA is 5, so that's somewhat true. He's not preventing runs the way that he needs to be. And Jake brought up a great point earlier. I want to bring that back up. He's overused. He shouldn't be used as often as he should not have been pitching today. And the reason that he is pitching is because we don't have another option. Whoever that was, did you guys want to see Johnny Lowe pitch the 9th? Is that what you wanted to see? Of course not. So that's what's at play here. Did you see who was coming
in for the 12th inning?
Wasn't it Johnny Lowe?
No. It was Ian Hamilton.
Oh, for the love of God.
Dude, I've never seen so many of those memes posted all at once on my feed. It was just end it all. It was just end it. Just end it right now. Like everyone's just like, oh, Ian Hamilton's up next. End it. Just end this game. Like no one wanted to see that. So
yeah. So as much as I want Mason Miller, he can go off the screen. I hope he's a Yankee tomorrow. Is he going to be? Probably not. I'm not going to tell you guys to. Right. I'm not that hopeful. But I think Cashman is going to get multiple arms tomorrow. It just may be not the arms that you guys want. And John Kirk, thank you for the 2, says Hedrick pitched very well this past 2 nights. Now, Jake, you mentioned this before we went live. Hedrick, the broadcast was raving about his fastball. They were raving about the action arm side. He looked really good. And of course, on that side, of the mound, it matters to the Yankees. We don't have hardly anyone left-handed to pitch. So there's some value there. I absolutely loved what he did. He's been pitching pretty well. I mean, he's not in our inner circle of trust, but right now, given our options, he's definitely one of the players that you'd rather be flipping the ball to.
Yeah, so it's interesting because he is technically just pretty much a fastball guy, barely throws the slider. He has a splitter as well, barely throws that as well.
So he's Chad Green.
Yeah, but what you get from him is that rise in his fastball. And he's not necessarily...
Are you talking about Chad Green or are you talking about Hedrick?
I'm talking about Brent Hedrick.
I'm telling you, it's the same. It's really, when you mentioned the fastball, where same thing with Suarez in San Diego. Go watch him pitch. You hardly see any variation, hardly any breaking stuff. And it's really just relying on his fastball. Pretty interesting.
70% of the time he's throwing his fastball. So, yeah.
I bet you Suarez is higher than that. I bet you Suarez is at like 88, 90%.
Well, let's check. Who the Yankees are also interested in, by the way. How many... Okay, there we go.
Well, there's a lot of Suarez's in Major League Baseball. You're going to ask the question. I'll answer it for you.
62%. He also throws a way harder fastball. So,
well, hold on. What are his other pitches that he throws? I feel like I rarely ever see him throw anything other than a fastball.
Sinker.
Interesting. Okay, so the sinker. So, all right. So still a fastball. It's a sinking fastball. Okay.
Yeah.
And Slim Lewis is optimistic here. This is nice to see some optimism. Slim, you're changing before our eyes. Welcome to Yankees Unloaded. Obviously, frequent listener. So Slim, welcome back.
Yes.
Thank you for the 2. Says, I'm optimistic on Volpe's long-term development. I can't believe I've seen Slim say this. Can't believe it.
I don't even believe it.
Me either. And I'm not
Slim,
optimistic.
Who hacked your account? No, I'm kidding.
I'm not
We
optimistic
appreciate
at
you,
all.
Slim.
I'm thankful for what he did today. And that's where I can leave it. And I hope he's part of the solution. And I also want him to fix this. So it's more so if people want to know what Gary thinks, the Yankees Unloaded, and I'll let Jake speak for himself, I want it to work with Volpe. Seems like a great kid. For what reason would I want to see some free agent or a trade in the winter come replace someone's job and then he has to go play in Minnesota for the next 4 years and just hate it? Well, I don't want to see that. But if you're not going to perform to a level, well, then you're really forcing my hand as a podcaster of this team trying to cover this team. So, yeah, I don't have to buy into the long-term deal, but so far of what he's doing the last 10 days, he's hitting a lot of homers and playing horrible defense. So we take the good with the bad.
No, that's very well put. I agree. And then that kind of coincides with this. Tim Kerwin, thank you for the 10. Give me Miller, trade anyone but Jones or Lombard, and get a few more arms. It's almost been 20 years since the last one. Must win now. Window is starting to close with Judge, Cole, etc. I agree. And this is where I'm at, except I would actually be open to trading Lombard Jr., and I would probably be more about keeping Jones and Schlittler. I have a feeling with Schlittler, I would almost take him over. I would take him over Warren.
Well, of course.
And Warren I really like. But I just have a feeling with Schlittler, this is a guy that can be a top of the rotation starter. I just don't think you trade away somebody like that. He has velo that you just don't actively have on this roster aside from Yerry De Los Santos, and he throws about 12 pitches every appearance. So you're not really getting the most out of that. So I think really, Gary, I mean, I've been pretty open about it, but everybody in the minor leagues, and I like a lot of these guys, but everyone in the minor leagues is available for me, except for Jones and Schlittler, unless I'm getting some crazy return.
Could not agree more. Spencer Jones, mind you, again, if I had the assurance that we're going to go get Kyle Tucker this offseason, I probably don't give a rip if Spencer Jones is on this team or not. But due to the fact that you and I don't think that Hal's going to go get that done, and that's his job, right, to go get the best players available, well, considering
0%.
that, we need outfielders, good ones. And how else are we going to do that other than free agency? Well, you're going to have to draft and develop them. That's the only other way, or trade for them. And we know the Yankees don't like trading for great outfielders with any control. So Spencer Jones, in a way, has to be here if we don't have confidence in, obviously, Kyle Tucker arriving. So, yeah, I agree with you. I think given our ability on the free agency market, you just simply can't trade Spencer Jones. Unless you're bringing in another star position player at the position, it just doesn't work. Lombard Jr. just hasn't proven enough. He very well could be a star in this league down the road, but you're talking about 2 or 3 years from now. The Yankees very clearly have to fix this here somewhat in the short term. So, Tim, we agree with you for the most part there. It's definitely a good super. And then David, thank you for the super. David Hayes, thank you for the 5. Says, Kay and Cone like to notice lookalikes for players. McMahon looks like the actor who played Catch with Kevin Costner at the end of Field of Dreams. Do you see that? I saw somebody on X. There were people talking about Ryan McMahon. They were like putting hard eyes on him. I was like, I don't know about all that. They were like treating him like he was a heartthrob. I was like, people put their goggles on for these baseball players. It's nuts.
It is wild. It's almost as wild as the fact that McMahon has literally been like bearded up for like his whole career and then shaved immediately. It's like no one told him. It's like, oh yeah, we got rid of that.
His beard, was it straggly? That's the question. Because technically he could have just trimmed it up and made it look nice and kept it, right? Because we did have that issue with Giancarlo. It wasn't an issue, but Giancarlo Stanton showed up. He looked like he just woke up from a couch. And then the very next day it was clearly shaved. So
yeah.
It was interesting.
I mean, I don't know. You see Ahmed Rosario. He keeps it well kempt and everything, but he didn't. He was like, I'm not shaving this thing. He didn't.
How can you forget? I feel like the players, for the most part, don't like the shaving policy. So
no, that's why I was surprised.
Flabbergasted. Like Garrett Cole was like, I haven't shaved in 10 years. So I'm not even
Yeah.
sure what to do. He said he hadn't shaved since UCLA.
Oh,
So that's
by the
how
way,
ridiculous it was. What's up?
we got an update on the final trade package for Eugenio Suarez.
Oh, the TBDs?
Yes. Tyler Locklear is
Okay.
the 9th prospect we talked about. Hunter Cranton, pitcher, 16th, and Juan Burgos, 17th.
So essentially, remember you mentioned that the Mariners got rid of him because of the glove. That was their big gripe with this player. But
Yeah.
I'm going to say this about different teams, especially contenders, bringing in a player like Suarez or a player who's considered flawed, right? He's not playing dominant baseball at both ends. Well, it's all predicated on team needs. If the Mariners love their defense, their team defense is just their shortstop plays well, their second baseman's great, they love what he's doing over there, their first baseman can pick it, right? He's great. Their outfield, they like that defense. Does it really hurt you to bring in Suarez at third base, who's weaker defender, but you can bring in the bat, where the Mariners are looking at offense? They want to find a way to bring in a
never have
closer.
it.
They never can score. And so when you look up at the Mariners, are they really not going to go to October baseball because of their ability to pitch in their starting rotation? No. They're looking for a closer and a third baseman. Well, you just found a third baseman who can hit, he's going to hit 50 plus home runs. So for them, I think this fits a lot better than it does with us. So I really like this move for Seattle. I mean, they basically stole him.
Yeah, and it also, begs the question, what bidding war or were we getting sold by the media about Eugenio Suarez?
I
what
told
the hell
you.
bidding war? Dude,
A bidding war would lead us to, that's where Spencer Jones gets thrown. They vomit his name into the conversation. He wasn't a part of the conversation.
You know what tells you? Well, it actually told me everything. And this is when I realized, oh, yeah, the Yankees don't need Suarez. The Dodgers lose Max Muncy and didn't even bat an eye at Suarez. The Dodgers.
Didn't even look at him.
Didn't even look at him. And that told me everything. That genuinely told me everything.
So that made you feel like, okay, this is just clearly
Yeah, the
not an
World
option.
Series champions just lost their third baseman, and they're still not interested in the hot commodity third baseman. Yeah, tells me all I need to know. So
Yeah, it's not great. And Alex,
good
the
for
GOAT,
Suarez though. He gets a chance to go back home and potentially compete for a World Series. I'm not saying that Seattle will do it, but hey, Randy Arozarena last year, and now they add Suarez. They are actually caring about the offense.
Yeah, and Alex the GOAT, as I mentioned before, mod of ours, thank you for the 2, says winning is winning, whether it's by an inch or a mile. I mean,
That is true.
I might disagree with that. I mean, I may not live to watch the Yankees play at the end of the year. And Kenny
if you survive,
Ortiz,
winning is winning. That's,
yeah, if you survive, if we win the World Series, we don't really give a rip what it looks like, but we sure care here in late July, especially before the trade deadline. And Kenny Ortiz, thank you for becoming a Yankees
Thank you,
Unloaded
Kenny.
member. Welcome in. And David L., thank you for the great content. Frustrating year.
It has been.
Definitely, it has been. It's just been, we're just wrestling out here. We're not sure what's going on. The Ace Avenue, not to be confused with Ace from Love Island, says, well, he's been a member for a month, so thank you for doing that. And I believe Uptown Sports TV, if I'm not mistaken, asked me earlier if I would join his podcast. I will formally agree. I will join your podcast. Thank you for the 5. Says thoughts on tonight, possibly being the last game of Jason Dominguez, played as a New York Yankee. Just tuned in. Keep killing it. So again, thank you for doing so. Again, I agree. But do I think the Yankees would trade Jason Dominguez? I don't. And here's why. There are a lot of people who say the defense is horrible. Obviously, he made a great play today, right? Saved runs.
Yeah.
However, the Yankees, by trading Jason Dominguez, are in a way agreeing to get more expensive. So I want people to understand it's not just about personnel. Hal Steinbrenner showed up, and he was yapping for the past 2 years. Oh, this payroll is not sustainable. We may go high price on Juan Soto, but we can't last in this lane, right? And so when they say things like that, And people ask, well, we should get off of Jason Dominguez and flip him to the A's, and then you can go bring in a Miller, move him to there. Okay, well, if you do that, this team, immediately, you're going to have to plug that hole with a veteran. And that is money. And so I think that Brian Cashman sort of knows these cheap assets where I have control, I have reason to buy into them long term. I don't think Jason Dominguez is going to be traded at any point.
Never say never. I don't think they trade Dominguez. I definitely don't think they trade Grisham after today. You can see how valuable he is to that clubhouse. And when you're trying to win a World Series, I will say though, Goldschmidt, who did have, a moment in this game where, he was able to help them on the defensive end at the end of the game. Goldschmidt is kind of playing his way off the team a little bit because Ben Rice, you had mentioned, it probably makes more sense. The way I look at it is this. Ben Rice feels like a better hitter right now than Paul Goldschmidt, even though the numbers are pretty good for July. Situationally, he hasn't been the situational hitter we saw earlier in the year. Rice has actually been the better hitter in those moments. But more importantly, Gary, if Rice struggles hitting against lefties, which I also don't buy, by the way, I just don't feel like he sees them enough. But if he struggles against hitting lefties and Goldschmidt struggles against hitting righties, well, what's the most common type of pitcher you're going to go up against?
Righty.
The righties, right?
That's right.
So wouldn't you theoretically, knowing that they both essentially struggle against one side of the plate or one side, one pitcher, when again, I would push back on Ben Rice. We haven't seen him long enough to know if he actually is bad against lefties or if he's improving or whatever. Wouldn't it make sense to just keep Ben Rice in the lineup, the younger player, the guy with control, the guy who you could boost his stock if you wanted to trade him? Wouldn't it make sense to keep him going? Look, I'm not trying to just give up on Paul Goldschmidt, but it's kind of, you had mentioned it earlier in the show. There's a team out there right now that would absolutely jump at the opportunity to trade for Paul Goldschmidt, and they might give you a surplus, their bullpen, maybe some prospects with it. Paul Goldschmidt would be a hot commodity. And the big thing here is that it doesn't matter, and this is what people are going to learn real quick tomorrow with the trade deadline. It doesn't matter how a player is hitting in the recent. These teams, I mean, we talk about it all the time. The trade deadline, it can be a scam. I mean, Luis Robert is going to bring in prospects. He's horrendous. He is awful. And the entire point is that, like, the Mets probably are going to go and get him and be like, well, we know he'll be better with the Mets. We know he's going to hit home runs. We want that, right? And the reality is these teams, when they get desperate enough, don't care. If you're looking for a bat, Paul Goldschmidt is likely going to help you. He's still hitting over 300, I believe, in July. Okay. So he's going to help you. But the big thing about this is that it's a team that has a lot of bullpen arms. They're already trying to trade. You mentioned it with Devin Williams. There's going to be a lot of teams where they're like, I don't really want to trade my bullpen, but man, it's no different than a housing market, right? If the housing market is
Devin Williams.
Booming,
I do.
Right? If the housing market is booming, for instance, and you're like, I wasn't thinking about selling, but now I have to sell because I'm just going to make bank if I sell. And then I'll just downsize my house, or in this case, I might be able to buy a better house. And that it's almost like a no-brainer. That is the conundrum that teams are going to be in, whether they are buyers, sellers, they're going to the World Series, they're going to the wild card, they're missing the playoffs. You see this reliever market already heating up, and it's just on the East Coast now, the trade deadline day. I'm telling you, there's going to be teams like the Yankees, the Dodgers. There's going to be buyer sellers, and I wouldn't be surprised, to your point. I wouldn't sell Devin Williams, but there's that. Also, I don't know if we can really trust this, but John Heyman did say that the Padres are working on a possible Mason Miller trade.
I'd be interested to see what in the world San Diego has that we can't match. Because mind you,
they traded all of their farm.
San Diego has proven they have the most aggressive general management. We are going to go out there. Dave Dombrowski, same thing in Philadelphia. I'm going to get top-end talent. I'm going to give up the prospect. That's the way we're going to go about this. And we may not have grounds or means to actually bring this player back. Now, having said that, San Diego very well could get this player. Obviously, it's being reported, and we're going to report it as such. But having said all of this, San Diego, who we know they do not have a lights-out system. It's not horrible, but it's not great. If they can go get Mason Miller, mind you, with a system that we just said is not great, you mean to tell me Brian Cashman has to go Spencer Jones, George Lombard Jr. to go get this player? Now, mind you, if that's the case and San Diego can land him, the package should look like George Lombard Jr. It should look like Cunningham, right? It maybe looks like Schlittler. So that's where I'm getting at. If San Diego has any ground to get this player, you got to look at Brian Cashman and say, at this point, I'm not sure what you do as the GM of this team. So I'm going to pay close attention. Obviously, the more likely scenario is that the A's hold on to this player. And if you do trade for someone like a Mason Miller, he can also be easily available still with a ton of control in the winter where you can work out these trades over the long term. So that's my guess as to what's going to happen here. But San Diego smells blood in the water. You see an injury today. Obviously, it was a cramp, but you're looking at a player in Shohei Ohtani who walked off the mound early from a start. San Diego has means to say, hold on a second, we may have a chance in this division. We may have a chance in the National League. So this will be very interesting. And John, welcome back into the Supers. Thank you for the 2. Says A's just won and Miller didn't close. Very interesting. So again, they're protecting their asset. They're not letting it be a Suarez situation where there could be a hit by pitch or an injury.
Too. Mark Kotze, Mason was unavailable tonight. That's all I can say. It's
going to be very interesting. So if he becomes a Yankee, if he becomes a Padre, just know it's going to tell you everything you need to know about Brian Cashman and San Diego as well. So we're going to find out a lot about some of these GMs and just how, remember when they told you this is a World Series team, you're going to find out what this front office really thinks about this team in the next 24 hours.
Yeah, the one team I have no idea what they're doing is the Angels because they're buying and then apparently they want to sell Kenley Jansen. So it's like, isn't he your closer? I don't know.
The only report I saw on Kenley Jansen is they won't sell him to the Dodgers. I'm like, you guys are such a joke. And mind you, I'm not saying you should trade him to the Dodgers, but the fact that it's the only thing out of your camp is so stupid.
It's so dumb. And I'm not a big Kenley Jansen fan, to be honest with you. He's not bad. That's not who I want. I don't want a 37-year-old rental. I'm not trying to give you prospects. I'm not trying to make the Angels any better in their prospects, their farm system, by trading for a 37-year-old, reliever. That's just personally me. But because I feel like I'd be such a hypocrite if I was like, yeah, give me Kenley Jansen, but I'm absolutely against Merrill Kelly. Merrill Kelly's a better player, and I'm at the same time against him.
Paul Goldschmidt's also 37. And so teams are going to look at it and say, well, if you want to trade us Paul Goldschmidt, he's 37. We know we don't owe him the full $12 million. We're more than halfway through the season. It's probably looking something like 4.5, 5.
Yeah.
Probably 4.5. So having said all this, if that's the case, you're probably more so just unloading Paul Goldschmidt. You're really just unloading him off the roster, and you're going to look at more of, we freed a spot on the 26. You have maybe some room to bring up a Spencer Jones for some movement there on your big league team. So very interesting. I mean, there's a ton going on. And Dragon King, thank you for the 10, says Ryan McMahon seemed like he needed a change of scenery from the Rockies. He looks great with the Yankees. So far, so good. And the biggest standout to me, I thought it was just going to be the glove. It's actually what he's offensively, he's giving us something there at third base, which the disparity between him and Peraza was swinging a pool noodle. I would have to assume that Peraza is going to be DFA'd here pretty soon. I just don't see a future with this organization, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's interesting because JC Escarra was sent down to AAA, and I wasn't even sure he was going to make it because I thought they were going to trade him to either the Padres or the Twins because they're both interested in him.
Right.
We're going to find out. But again, you've kind of hit on this, and we should really be hitting on this more. This stuff is so easy to leak. Really, and also, like, leaks, like, they're not all the time leaks. They're lies, right? They're, unfortunately, you'll have, like, you'll have reporters, guys that we've talked to, guys that we haven't talked to, what have you, and they'll get bad information. It's up to them personally to have to kind of sift through it and, put two sources together before they report it. Some do, some don't. The Mikes of the world don't, obviously. I don't even know if they have sources. But then, you get people that do. And so it's important to remember, guys, always be sure on deadline day, you're going to be probably refreshing Twitter all day. Be sure that you're checking the ats, you're checking, the actual verified accounts. I understand anybody can be verified, but
so probably don't check the verified accounts, but
you
make sure
like
it's
Jeff
the correct.
Passon's, you know his handle. So just make sure it doesn't say Jeff Passon tweets BS at you. It's something like that. Just make sure that you're extra careful, because I'll tell you right now, and this will happen with Instagram, this will happen with Facebook. People run wild. And it's so funny, Gary, because all it is, if you really think about it, it's the dopamine effect. If you're scrolling on your phone, all of a sudden you see this nice little pretty graphic of Mason Miller in a Yankee uniform, and it just shows some text, be like done deal or whatever. Now you have to assume your brain's telling you Mason Miller is a Yankee, and you have to go and you have to check that out. So
you'll know technically if Mason Miller's traded to the Padres or he's traded to the Yankees. You'll know because it's going to be showing up. It's not going to be retweeted. It's going to be tweeted from 4 or 5 different accounts. The main ones, check the handle, as Jake mentions. Please do that, because I already know my DMs are going to blow up and just explode. My phone's going to be buzzing off the hook.
Dude, I get
over
it
trades that didn't happen. It's like the
I'm
April
getting it with the
Fool's
Rams,
joke.
and it's not even the trade deadline. They're like, oh, do we get Von Miller? No. He actually signed a week ago. I get it all the time. Oh, are we trading for Micah Parsons?
By the way, what time is the trade deadline? Is
6 p.m. Eastern time. They've changed
6 p.m. Eastern time. Okay, perfect. So I'm going to
used
have
to be
absolutely
4.
no way possible. I was literally just tagged. I can't stand this team. I was just tagged on Twitter. Someone by the name of Richie just tagged me, and it's of Brian Cashman napping on the side of the street. That's what we've gotten ourselves into. So 6 p.m. Eastern time, that's 3 p.m. my time. So I'm going to have absolutely no way to go live. However, I don't know, it's likely to bother people. I mean, people are they're sticklers. Some people are, most people aren't. But I may be able to hop on with my phone. So
I think that would be best if you can.
If
you can.
I can do it.
Because, I mean, who gives a hoot, right? Really?
Oh, no, somebody will. I want to answer this, by the way, because BG definitely likes to sharpen iron with iron. And I like that not everybody in the comments has to agree with me. This is a good thing. This is what baseball conversation, and by the way, our Discord's going to be this way as well. So I'm going to make sure, Jake and I are going to make sure that we're hopping in the Discord more often to interact. But I will tell you, BG, this is a good question. So BG wants to know if you DFA Peraza, who I do believe should be DFA'd, doesn't hit enough, and he's just not good enough defensively for me to justify his roster spot. He mentions who plays shortstop when Volpe needs a day or gets hurt. So my answer to you is I believe the Yankees should use a roster spot by trading for somebody. Do I think it's going to be Kim? I'm not sure.
Should be Kim,
but
yes.
It should be Kim, most likely. If I'm the Yankees, I bring another shortstop in here who first and foremost is a glove. Exactly what you brought Ryan McMahon in here to do. We need somebody in there. That Savant Page is off the chain defensively. And if he's got a bat, it's a bonus. But that's my answer. I just don't think Peraza is the answer to be able to put him behind Volpe and hold him honest. I don't think Peraza is that good of a player in order to do that.
No, I totally agree. I think, unfortunately, Peraza, his issue is the bat. And when you go out and you get an Austin Slater who's hitting like 859 OPS against lefties, and you go out and you get Ahmed Rosario, you've set the tone, Gary. It does not matter. We can't cut corners here. You've set the tone. We care about the nooks and crannies of our roster. We care about having some offense off the bench. You can't just be like, now, Peraza, we just added 2 guys that have good OPS against left-handed pitching. We're just going to keep Peraza in his 152 batting average. No, it just sends the wrong message. So I'm not against keeping him in the farm. Like if you you have to DFA him and he doesn't elect free agency and he goes to AAA, I'm okay with that. I have no issue with that. But no, I do think you have to. I kept comparing it because we didn't go live earlier. I went live, but I didn't get a chance to really talk to you about it. The way I saw it is that you go out and you get Austin Slater, and you go out and you get Ahmed Rosario, and it's really very similar to what the Dodgers did last year when you talk about going out and getting Kevin Kiermaier, Ahmed Rosario, ironically.
That's
then
right.
they went out and got Tommy Edman. So I
They also did that with Michael
out.
Conforto this year. I mean, part of that is they wanted a right-handed bat. Hasn't really worked out, but you see the premise.
Yeah. No, I would not rule it out, Gary. I wouldn't rule out another move, on the offensive side. Just for the love of God, do not do it before you. I can't go through a fourth bat before we got even a pitcher. I can't handle that. And
There's a pecking order to this.
I know they can't handle that either. So, but it is interesting because it feels like now the Rays are really starting to get to the point where they're about to kind of go on a fire sale. They've had a lot of interest in their players. Obviously, Brandon Lau has been confirmed to be traded every year, it feels like. But also Yandy Diaz is another one. They just
Brandon
traded
Lau
Littell.
is what's his name? He's Kepler.
Kepler?
Or is it
He's
Kapler?
way better than...
No, I know they're
Gabe
not comparable.
Kapler?
Gabe Kapler.
Okay.
Do you remember that? Mind you, I bring this up every 6 months. There are certain players that are just kind of okay at everything. And so teams are like, we need a glove, and that guy's a decent glove, and they always end up. I'm not really sure what names come to mind for our audience of players. Jose Quintana, always in trade talks. Always. Right? You see Charlie Morton.
He is
always.
the trade deadline. Always.
Charlie Morton's almost 50 years old and he's in trade talks. Why is he in trade talks?
If they get him, I'm gonna be mad. I'm just gonna be mad. Astros, by the way, are now engaged in talks with Sandy Alcantara after Dylan Cease talks have cooled. So We'll see. It's interesting.
So that tells me San Diego, they could be focusing on Miller and that could be the holdup, or you could be talking about Dylan Cease, which I agree with. I think San Diego should be selling high on Dylan Cease. You cannot sell him just because he's a rental. Too much talent there. So I think San Diego's going to end up keeping Cease. I don't think he's a Yankee. I don't think he's going anywhere else. But we need multiple relievers. And as you said, Jake, in order, we need reliever, shortstop to help defensively. It's got to be that order because we got to make some sense of what we're doing in this deadline.
Yeah. So I think that is, dude, I hate leaving. I mean, I go through this at the NFL season where you have tons of people and you don't know when to stop because you just have so many.
Don't worry, you can't leave yet. John Kirk with a super with a 5. John, immediately I throw you up on the screen, says tomorrow is a 1 o'clock game. Now, we hate that. Kills our viewership. Doesn't give us enough time to get more views. And he says, and rain, thunder in the forecast.
Well, there's our view.
There you
this
go.
Game's not starting until 4.
So this actually would be perfect. If the Yankees can have tomorrow's game canceled or postponed.
Postponed, yes. Postponed.
Give
us
a postponement. Yeah, this isn't Little League. They don't cancel games. But if you can go out there and postpone this game, we don't have to waste tomorrow's game looking at our bullpen. The arm that we trade for, that arm's going to participate in our very next ball game. So absolutely love that. Never usually root for a postponement, but tomorrow may be the day where we're going to root for that.
Yeah, I do want to see Yankee baseball tomorrow, so I'm hoping it's like it gets just delayed out a bit, But
we got to throw Christopher up on the screen. Obviously, great photo there as usual. Member of ours says if there's a trade in 15 or 20 minutes, guys, if there's a trade at 1 o'clock in the morning, just know if you're awake, we're awake. Jake doesn't sleep at all. I try to sleep, but I'm going to stay up a little extra tonight just in case there's a trade. Obviously, if we are awake and able, you're going to look at YouTube and see that we are live. So thank you for bringing that up, Christopher. And again, guys, make sure you guys subscribe to Yankees Unloaded. We have over 700 people in here. We should have 700 likes, but it doesn't always work that way. But we appreciate all of you guys. Make sure you're subscribed for the Yankees jersey giveaway. It's going to be a Yankees jersey of your choice. We're not giving you Stroman's jersey. We're not throwing you Ryan McMahon's jersey, albeit maybe some people want it. But yeah, it's going to be whatever jersey you want. So Make sure, Dom D, thank you guys for liking this video. Jake, what do you want them to drop in the comments, by the way?
Yeah, I think we should sign it off with this. Everyone predict, shoot your shot, what goes on tomorrow. You can type as much as you want, as little as you want in the comments section, not in the chat, because it'll get lost in the ether. But Gary, with that said, you and I have to drop our predictions for tomorrow. So we already know that they have 3 bats.
Okay.
Who do they end up with tomorrow? Because I'm going to say Romero for sure ends up being a Yankee.
I have absolutely no idea as far as a bat. I'm going to say Kim because that's who I want, right?
Okay.
However, for the arms, Romero, I believe the Yankees are going to find a way to get Jax from Minnesota. I don't think Mason Miller, I think it's a little bit above their pay grade. They're going to, at the very least, they're going to lie to us and tell us that Spencer Jones had to go in that deal. And maybe he did, but either way, they're going to tell you that. So you might as well not even listen to them. And then obviously you see BG saying Bednar. So there's certainly a ton of options there to be had, but I'm going to go, God, who do I really think the Yankees are going to get in this bullpen? I would probably agree. I think we're going to get Bednar, IKF.
You think they get IKF?
Yeah, I do. I think
really
Isaiah Kiner-Falefa is going to be brought onto this team, and then Peraza is going to be DFA'd. So that's going to be it. And then I think we may see, as I mentioned before, a JoJo Romero, someone kind of on the margins there, but his analytics are very good. That's going to be my prediction. And then we'll come back to it and see how it goes.
I'm going to go with, man, I don't know why. I kind of feel like Griffin Jax is going to be the guy. I think Romero for sure. They need a lefty. He'll be their lefty. I'm kind of in between. It's Coulombe or Romero, but I'm going to lean towards Romero.
Okay.
And then I think it's Bednar or Griffin Jax or Jackson Nix, whatever you want to call him. Now he needs to go to the Yankees. That would be so funny. But Griffin Jax and Bednar, I think it's between those two. And then I kind of feel like they're either going to end up with Zach Gallen or they're going to acquire Edward Cabrera. And I'm hoping it's Cabrera, but I love Zach Gallen's one of my all-time favorite pitchers. Love him. A lot of people don't know that. But the fact that he's a rental, that I don't want to give up top dollar. And we haven't seen a legit starting pitcher go yet. Littell is the first one. He gives up a ton of home runs.
There's no way he goes for top prospects. There's just no way. I don't even think I just don't see it. A pitcher who's struggling this year, who's a rental, and you're going to get what? You're going to call me on Cunningham? Really? No, I just think it's a little ludicrous in my opinion.
It would,
so I just
it would absolutely be ludicrous. My biggest thing is don't trade for a guy that's struggling and pay a high price tag. That's why I don't believe in the Alcantara price tag. I don't believe in any of those because it's like Edward Cabrera is somebody I would pay money or, I would pay a decent price to go out and get because you get 3 years of control and you get a good player, a guy that is going to bolster your rotation, which you could argue that's only going to make the bullpen better. So I'm really curious to see what they do. I'm curious to see how Marcus Stroman fits into it all because he is slated to start tomorrow. So it's
perfect time for the rain. So let it rain, baby. Sorry, Marcus.
It's very fascinating to me because it's been out there. They clearly care about starting pitching. We're gonna see what they do.
Oh my God! Someone said Verlander incoming. Joe, you're banned. You're gone. So drop in the comment section who you guys genuinely, not who you want, who do you genuinely believe we're looking at when the deadline expires tomorrow. And by the way, guys, if you're joining us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, we are everywhere. Make sure to drop us a 5-star review if you enjoy this podcast. We're not going to put a gun to your head and force you, but if you're here after 2 hours, we would assume that you do like this show and you're enjoying your time. So make sure you guys drop us a review. Helps us out a ton. We'll be reading the predictions, and of course, we'll probably read some of them on the show if anyone just nails it. If you can do that, then I think you deserve to be on the screen. So thank you guys, of course. Thank you for all our supers. Obviously, everyone. We had over 1,500 chats. Ridiculous turnout tonight. Over 700 people the whole time. And of course, like the video.
Like the video.